Now this is an interesting part where I come to know your fever remedies. You need to understand few important remedies, and this is what I have for you all, some 10 remedies, and very quickly about how and what would be the presentation in clinic, your clinical presentation, patient's clinical presentation of these remedies in your clinics. So Nux vomica. Now many of you were asking me where to read prodrome, how to understand prodrome. So when patient comes to you, you would get some symptoms, what is happening with the patient at that moment. But if you ask the patient about what is happening before or what happened before the fever, you may get a clue over something like drawing pain in the legs before fever. There is only one remedy, Nux vomica. In Hindi or Marathi, the patient would say that it is a pulling like of pain. It is khechliya sar. It is like something is pulling me within. This is the only remedy, and I have verified it so many times in my clinic that I cannot miss a Nux vomica case now. Nux vomica patients may also feel that the fever is coming. They can feel the anticipate the fever, and that is why Nux vomica is the only remedy in Kent's repertory for anticipating. The latest repertories have 8 to 10 remedies. They have put many remedies, but each author has his own view, his own literature to refer to, so we can't uh, fight, and we just have to agree with it what is mentioned. This is what would happen in the program of the Nux vomica. Now what happens when patient shares the symptoms directly and you don't get a head and tail of it? There is a mess, complete mess. And one patient may tell you that there is fever coming, and then there is in between I'm feeling chilly and I feel cold, and then I switch off the fan and then I start sweating, and then again I feel chilliness, and it goes in an irregular pattern. So you see in this Kent's repertory there is a rubric in the fever chapter, irregular stages, and the remedies are arsenic, bryonia, nux vomica, ipecac, sepia, and opium. If you have a case where it's all jumbled up, patients have taken allopathy, give Nux vomica one dose or maybe couple of doses and wait for a while for the reaction to happen. In fever cases, you may need to follow up with the patient every 3 hourly, every 6 hourly, every 12 hourly. The more frequently you follow up, the better you understand the patient. It may not be like follow up every 1 hourly, 2 hourly, but maybe 6 hourly is a fairly good time to follow up. About Nux vomica and specifically about irregular stages, I would like to mention something about Kent's lectures in uh, the remedy sepia. He says that in cases which have been confused by remedies, think of the remedies like calcarea, arsenic, sulf, sepia, and ipecac. Of course, Nux vomica also you can think, but over here you can read, these are the nitty gritties. You may find these in the corners of your books, and if you have the ability to pick them up, your life will become much easier when you see patients. So it's like a mess of symptoms which has happened, and you don't know what to give, how to give, or you don't understand the head or tail of it. You can give either of these remedies to clear the picture, to help the picture clear, and then you can give the right remedy or maybe the same remedy in hypertension if it is indicated. Never give China or Natramir for irregular symptoms and stages, because these remedies are known for having periodicity or typical stages of fever one after the other. That is what China and Natramir would uh, define for you in your fever practice. So this is what is about Nux vomica. Now in Nux vomica, generally you would also see long-lasting heat. You would see the uncovering to aversion. It's a chilly remedy. You would say that it can be in fever also, and there is an increase in severity of the paroxysms. Arsenic also is another remedy. Pulsatilla is also the remedy. Why pulsatilla is there in this rubric, I'll share in the next few slides. So fever is started in the patient and he feels worse and worse and worse, and then he gets bad at the end of the fever or maybe the episode of the fever. So this is what this rubric would indicate for you. Now when you compare Nux vomica with other remedies, you would say that leg pain is there in so many remedies. I do agree with you. So if you see the rubric in Kent's repertory, extremity pain, it is a general pain in both the extremities. It can be in the hands, it can be in the legs. The remedies are arnica, eupatorium, calcarea, carboveg, sina, lipo, nux vomica, rustox. If it is having a general kind of pain only in the legs, but not, he cannot define it, then it would also mean pulsatilla, like we saw in the first case, or eupatorium perfoliatum, or eupatorium purpureum. If it is specific lower limbs, both the lower limbs are affected, then you also have the remedy nux vomica, which I shared with you all, that it has the drawing kind of pain. So in this way, you may need to differentiate the remedies by looking at these aspects of what happens before the fever, by looking at what happens in the fever and what happens after the fever stages. Now, the other remedy, arsenic album. What happens in arsenic? We saw one of the cases where there was lot of sleepiness. So if you see sleepiness, chill before, arsenic, nicolum, pulsatilla, sabadilla, theridion. These are the other very rarely prescribed remedies, but you would be using arsenic and pulsatilla too often. Pulsatilla would also have the loose stools in days before the fever starts. So it classifies into uh, fever before or chill before. If you go in some classical repertories, you would find Varatram album, which is also the remedy. But if you see the latest repertories, the diarrhea before fever has the mention of pulsatilla. So sleepiness before fever, do remember that arsenic is one of the key remedies which will help you successfully clear your cases. What happens when there is thirst before the chill? So the remedies are arsenic, china, eupatorium, pulsatilla, and these other remedies. And if the chill is increased by drinking water, or if it causes vomiting, the remedies are to be thought. Arsenic is one of the main remedies, and nux vomica is other remedy. Cadmium sulf is very rarely prescribed. You may need to have a lot of pathologies for it to be prescribed. So this would happen in the prodromal stage of arsenic, something that happens before the fever. What happens in fever for arsenic? The patient may feel heat on the outside but cold in the inside. There would be burning heat, and blood seems to burn in the veins. So much the burning is. Just like Rustox, arsenic also has it. Bryony and Medorrhinum are the other remedies. And one stage wanting, I already shared in one of the video cases. It was a typical case of arsenic where it needed to have desire for refreshing things also. There would also be bloatedness of the abdomen in the apyrexia. In the apyrexia, you saw that he had desire for refreshing things, and some patients may complain of diarrhea or loose stools also. That was arsenic for you all. Now, if you see the other remedies, I would not go much into explanation of all the remedies. So I made a comparison chart, and this would help you understand in brief about what you need to understand about these four remedies: arsenic, china, arnica, and eupatorium. I shared about arsenic, sleepiness, yawning, thirst would be the key symptoms that happen before the fever starts. In China, it would mostly be that there is lot of loose stools, there is hunger, there is thirst, there is restless sleep. Restless sleep is very, very, very marked. In many cases, you would see that. In Arnica, it would be drink thirst, and then the drinking of water would refresh the patient. Eupatorium, classical symptoms of eupatorium you will see in your clinic. Chikungunya cases, so many of you must have heard about it. They would have typical bone pains, typical eye pains, and the thirst will cause lot of nausea. In the chilliness, chill state, it would be irregular for arsenic, or it would be wanting, as I said, the PQRS symptom. And in China, it would be typical rigors or typical chills where the patient is shaking a lot. Arnica, you saw one of the cases, there was a lot of body ache. This typical body ache would classify arnica for you, but bone pains, and mostly adult patients would share that there is lot of bone pain. The bones are paining as if there is kind of a hurt which they have. So it would go into arnica or eupatorium, but if you have the other symptoms, eupatorium can be thought. In the heat stage, you would see that China would have not have much thirst, but it would have thirst in the sweating stage. Now, eupatorium would have bitter vomiting in the heat stage, and in sweating, you would see that arsenic and China both would have thirst, but in eupatorium, the sweat would be scanty. You can compare eupatorium with bryonia and Brustox also on similar lines. I will come to it in the next slide. And in the arnica, the smell you can be very bad smelling. The sweating can be very bad smelling, and you would feel more weak or more sore after the sweating. In apyrexia, you saw that arsenic would have desire for refreshing things. China would have lot of weakness, and arnica would have rotten eggs like eruptions, and eupatorium would have bone pains. And in arsenic, you would have one stage wanting. Typically, it is a chill state, but I have frequently encountered that the sweating stage is also absent in many cases, and this is where I have also succeeded in many cases of arsenic. China would have stinging. It would be like some sort of crawling happening in the body. Arnica would have a kind of a heat in one part of the body, cold in the other part of the body, just like classically we see in Allen's keynotes, it's mentioned that upper part of the body is hot and lower part is cold. And eupatorium would have lot of bone pains. And one interesting rubric I would like to show you. Let me see if I can show you right now. All right. So when you go to Kent repertory and you open the chapter perspiration and you see the rubric symptoms ameliorate while sweating except the headache. So all the symptoms ameliorate except the headache, natramur, but even the headache is made worse, then the remedies eupatorium, perfoliatum, arsenic and chininum sulph. So always remember that eupatorium will always and always have the headache which is made worse by sweating. So let me take you back to the PowerPoint. Yeah. So we almost covered four remedies in this one slide, and I don't know how well it would have be for you to understand, uh, but I have tried to collate all the symptoms from the repertory, from the materia, from the classical source books, and bring together everything so that you don't have to uh, jump into it if you have to see patients anytime soon. But I recommend you to go and read the classical books, the Allen's fever book, the different fever chapters mentioned in each materia medica book. Going over to the next remedy, pulsatilla. I already shared that there would be diarrhea before the fever, and there would be sleepiness before the chill, which I already shared. One-sidedness, one-sided coldness, numbness, or one-sided sweat would be typical of pulsatilla. Do remember it, don't forget it. And in in the mind, you will see lot of moaning and groaning. It's the only 3 mark remedy in this repertory, reliable repertory, which has been recently available in our program, the Synergy of Homeopathic Software. So pulsatilla is the only 3 mark remedy which would be like kind of key indicator that there would be constant moaning. You would have children in your clinics or in your cases where they are making a moaning sound, either in sleep, either in during heat. They are sleeping and they are getting the fever, and there is a moaning. One very, 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 very important key rubric of uh, pulsatilla would also be that there are irregular stages of fever. There is a long chill, little heat, and no thirst. No thirst, we all know. We all have been seeing since first year of BHMS. But there will be long chill and little heat. This is also one type of presentation. Very frequently seen. Slightly he'll feel chilly, and then keep on feeling chilly for some few hours, and then he'll feel heat for some time, and then nothing else. Coming over to the next two remedies, which are very important, loose stocks and bryonia. In very short slide, I have kept it to a bare minimum. Cough before the fever started, go and blindly give one loose stocks. It has been verified by many, many, many practitioners. I would show you once again from the repertory. I'm going to the Kent's repertory, and you can just see that it's mentioned in the cough chapter. Chill before. So cough before chill. 3 mark remedy, Rustox. You have other remedies also. You can consider that. You can keep them in mind. But Rustox will help you in, say, 8 out of 10 cases, from what I understand. So this is one of the best things that you would always have. Dunham has cured innumerable cases. He has mentioned in many books, and you will get good success if you remember this point that Rustox has cough before the fever. So I see a few questions. I'll just come on the questions. Just give me a few minutes so that I can finish the flow of the thoughts that are in my mind. All right, bryonia would have vertigo before the fever started. The patient would tell that there was slight vertigo, and I felt like then there was a kind of a fever feeling, and there would be a little bit of thirst also sometimes in prodromal cases. Rustox would have cold blood running uh, in the chilliness phase, and in the heat phase they would have hot water running. It's very contradictory, but that's the Rustox for you. And Rustox would have profuse sweat except in the face. For bryonia, the heat would basically have typical bryonia features. Does not want to move, disturbed averse to being, noise aggravates. Noise will also bring on fever. In Kent repertory, the only remedy is mentioned as bryonia for noise aggravates, or noise brings on the fever. And for sweat, you can compare bryonia with eupatorium, where eupatorium, I can take you back to the slide and show that eupatorium had scanty sweat, which used to aggravate the headache, but bryonia would have easy sweating, and it relieves all these complaints. Of pyrexia, they would have typical symptoms which you always study in the classical materia medica. And PQR symptoms, what you can focus upon is cough before fever for those talks and wants to be quiet. Typically for bryonia, we would see so many rubrics for bryonia for that. Coming to the next remedy, Ipecac. Uh, this remedy would have short chill and a long heat. It would be like chill for few minutes and then heat for few hours, and then no thirst. So it's little opposite of pulsatilla, but that would be the crux of Ipecac. Gastric cases would define very well for Ipecac. Typical nausea would be there, those because it affects the pneumogastric nerve. Gelsemium, usually a remedy we can think of for emotional excitement, for grief, for semi-stupor cases, just like arnica. Sensitive to noise and light. Muscular system will be affected. It will be more of loss of coordination or lot of weaknesses there. And chininum sun. Why this remedy I have mentioned is that because this remedy will have lot of sensitiveness in the spine. The patient would just sit behind and he would come forward because he cannot lay his back or spine to the wall, or maybe while lying down also they would lie down on one side. This remedy would be of good help to you all in cases of malaria fevers where malaria is just about to begin, or dengue fevers where it is about to begin. And it would have typical shaking chills and true rigors, and lot of thirst would be there with it. Natrum mure would feel that the fever is coming. I'm feeling that the fever is coming. I feel that the fever is coming. This would be the description. It would begin in the feet. It would begin in the fingers, toes, hands, back, and there would be violent headache. I already shared about this interesting rubric from the Kent's repertory where there was lot of sweating which ameliorates but except the headache, which is made worse, goes for another class of remedies. Last but not the least, many of you would begin your journey with these two remedies, but I would say that you have lot of remedies other than these two remedies, aconite and belladonna, to prescribe. Aconite and belladonna would help you in first few hours of cases, first 12 hours, first 24 hours, but not beyond that. And if you give beyond that, make sure you individualize the case and understand the case at hand in detail. Whenever there is doubt, there is one Dr. Bayer who says that he has found that the disposition to perspire always indicates belladonna.
Hello and namaste from Mumbai. I'm very excited to share with you that this December we are launching the advanced course on classical homeopathy. So, all the homeopaths out there, students, interns, early practitioners, students anywhere, this is the thing you need to join. It's a weekend course, online course. You can sit at home and learn. In today's times, the world has been online. We are going to be talking about 100 polycrest remedies, also rare remedies, organon, repertorization techniques, advanced level of case taking. Also, we'll also talk about how to use mother tinctures, organ remedies, biochemics. It's going to be one of its kind. Homeopaths across the world are going to be teaching also in this, and I'm working on the content of it very closely with the best minds in homeopathy. So I really want every single one of you to join us, be a revolution in this field. I'm also going to give a lot of homework to all of you, so be ready for a lot of training sessions with me. Also, there is an early bird offer, so if you register earlier, you will get it at a major discounted rate. And if you already attended my last course, you'll also kind of in this early bird offer, you'll also get the last course, that is the 6-month classical homeopathy course, as a guest access. We are going to increase it for 6 months. So you'll also attend the last course plus this course. So it's going to be close to about 200 hours of classical homeopathy at your fingertips for the next 7-8 months. It's going to be one of its kind. So if you want to be a genuinely good homeopath and a clinician, this 200 hours will take you to the next level. So forget everything else. Forget the Netflix, forget the Amazon Prime, forget the movies, forget the stories. Classical homeopathy at its best. Just email on the below email ID, register, be a part of revolution. Every single one of you listening, hand on heart, join us.